Okay, so this is just a little reflection of our pitch and the feedback we received. So, with regards to the title and tagline, the feedback was pretty good, but the changes to the tagline could include like the yellow theme or the wellies or something that incorporates both of them.
Yeah, I've been thinking of a few ideas for that. I think smile needs to stay the same, but it's got to just use I don't think I want to use wellies in the tagline. I think maybe we actually try and get the colour in. Because the yellow and smiles, it's all very sort of around the same theme.
I think
the colour connotation of yellow.
The connotation of yellow is happiness, and the fact that the title is called Smile as well makes it really short and memorable. So it's just finding a suitable tagline that's actually going to go with our title. So next is the synopsis. There's nothing to provoke the happiness at the minute that the boy feels, so we need the boy to try and make himself smile between the family trying and the boy finding the wellies. So we've discussed and reflected this bit and actually come up with a short montage where the boy actually tries to make himself happy within the house. The next thing would be, what do the wellies symbolise? Not just the colour, but why does that make him happy?
Because out of all things, why is it a pair of wellies, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
It was mainly the simplicity and the childlike innocence of this boy, mainly because of because we aren't using that much dialogue. It also sort of uses this fact that this kid, there's something wrong, there's something missing because he is not smiling.
Yeah.
And to have just a pair of wellies that are so bright and so colourful, it is sort of that childlike innocence. And the fact that he is smiling again, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that the fact that he has to make himself smile kind of fills some of the holes within the narrative that they identified as they watched our pitch.
Yeah. The next slide we had was our characters, and some of the feedback was being able to create a relationship with the character without using any dialogues, having a non-verbal character and still having the audience care about them. So having enough time in our film, for the 5-minute short film, being able to create a character that is meaningful and has a purpose. I feel like the narrative really backs up the relationship of the character and the audience.
Yeah.
You really care about this kid, you just want him to smile. It's such a basic instinct for people to smile, and when somebody doesn't do that, you really just the only thing you want to do is make them smile, or at least something.
Yeah.
So I feel like the audience will sort of feel that drive, especially relating to the characters in the beginning.
Yeah,
who are trying to make him smile. They're sort of, they want this to happen and that sort of thing, and that's why I think they'll be behind the actual main character in our story, because they'll have a relationship.
I sort of disagree with that point, the dialogue, because I feel like the research we've done into narrative techniques and like alternatives to dialogue, our film isn't driven by the dialogue, and as long as we base it off of what we've learned, I feel like it won't be that important, because there's lots of films out there that have
like Yardbird, that was the one that I always think
Cutaway
about.
as well has no.
I feel like we will be able to create a visual relationship without using dialogue, simply because one of our main focuses is on using a sort of Wes Anderson style mise-en-scène, which is basically visual storytelling. You know, if you watched a Wes Anderson film, a lot of his characters don't actually need to speak. You could put it on mute and you'd still get a very good understanding of what the character wants and what its relationship with other characters are. And that's because of the way that he commands colour and set and props and positioning within his films.
Well, you talk about
all of that
you talk about the mise-en-scène and costume and props. That ties in nicely. That we had feedback on our location, costume and props, which is quite important to take note when it's visual storytelling. So we've got stuff like make sure to ask shops if we can use them, which is obvious. Request forms, and they seem to like the locations we've chosen. They think they're effective and quite well elaborate. Locations.
The thing is with Wes Anderson films, especially considering that's our main influence for style and form, it's things like the location is simple, the props, the characters, the costume isn't. That is what stands out to people. It's using those colours and the vibrance to actually create this aesthetic, which is it's called the typical Wes Anderson, when you have things like symmetry and things like this and that, and if you have a background that's too complicated, you won't be able to pull it off.
That's why it requires a load of organisation.
And I feel like we are very organised with our costume and props list, which is something that again we got back feedback from the pitch. They complimented us on our use of, you know, getting things together on time and setting deadlines for ourselves.
Yeah, and considering props and things like that, it was having a look at costs and realising, okay, how are we going to do this on a budget when we all pretty much get paid minimum wage? So it's that sort of thing, and not having that much money. So they did say that we are sort of reasonably low on budget. However, on the actual pitch, it did come to $37.60. We've actually cut that cost again, because the wellies, we're now sourcing, just using an old pair of wellies instead.
DIY sort of thing.
Exactly, so that's cut our cost by £15 already.
And I feel like that links back to our organisation. Our organisation has benefited us as a group.
Yeah. We also got complimented on our backup plan as well. It was actually quite well thought out. So we are ready for any mistakes or issues and filming Smile. So it's that sort of thing of, you know, be ready to always have a backup plan in case
but
you fail.
hopefully we don't need the backup plan, because we planned out with the planning schedule, which again they thought was pretty good.
Exactly.
So hopefully if we follow that step by step and our pre-production, then we should be a-okay.
Yeah.
And the only real feedback for equipment is the fact that we're using new equipment. We're using things like the fig rig and the spider, which we haven't actually had much practice with before. So trying to find those sort of, going back to style and form again, the Wes Anderson panning shots, the 90-degree angle panning shots and the 180, those quick pans and those steady pans, they need to be smooth. Otherwise, it will look like a student film and it will look tacky compared to what our influences are, because we are influenced by such a successful and very to-the-point director that when it comes to using things like the fig rig and the spider, we really are going to have to practice with with that equipment.
So if I was to say, what would each of you quickly summarise what you'd take out of this? What would you take from what we've learned in the pitch and like what the feedback produces? What would you say you're going to take from this?
I think probably the main thing that I'm going to focus on, obviously because it is a teamwork effort and it's sort of categorising your strengths and what you're good at. I think my strengths are probably in things like the organisation of actors, props, costumes, location recce's, things like that. So actually making sure everything is how we want it, not only now but on the day of filming. I think that's something I'm probably really that's one of my biggest strengths, is just organisation of people and costume and props and getting everything sorted so we've got it how we want it just even before we're filming.
Okay, and what would you say?
I would say the visualisation of the story that we're trying to tell, I would say that is probably my strength. And with our storyboards, it's going to be very clear exactly where we're putting the actor, exactly where we're putting props, exactly where we want sort of more intense colours than others, and sort of storyboarding that in order to tell the narrative and what theories that follows and how it subverts them. I'd probably say that's my strength.
I feel like from the feedback we've had, I'm going to try and keep us anchored, you know, like you both have very extravagant ideas, and I'm just going to try and make sure we stick...
Basically, we're not very realistic.
No, I just want to make sure that I stick to basics. We've got a narrative that makes sense, as they said, why, like the whys, the whats. I'll just be there throughout the process, being devil's advocate, just saying, why are we doing this? What does that imply? Just so then the narrative is told, and then we will tie our film nicely together.
Brilliant.
So there's 1 week to go now, and then we're done, aren't we?
Brilliant. Thanks for listening.